We got an 014 Taurus. The wheel bearings are bad. You need to replace the wheel bearings. If you're a do-it-yourselfer and have just an average set of tools, there's really nothing real special needed for this. You can do it yourself and save a lot of money. Here's how to do it. One other thing, you can always run into complications, so if you do, check with your local shop. If you're doing this at home and don't have a lift where you can raise it up, or if you don't have an impact gun, this bolt right here has to come off. The best thing to do is do it while it's on the ground. You've got the weight of the vehicle. Okay, use a breaker bar and apply leverage. You've got the wheel down on the ground, the weight, so that you can break it loose this way. If you do happen to have an impact wrench, then you can get with an impact. This is an 1 1/8" socket. Now you take your lug nuts. You have to drive the axle shaft in, so just take a punch and drive it in with your hammer. That'll break it loose from the bearing. You have to take the caliper and caliper bracket off. It's a size 15 socket. When you take the caliper off, don't let it just dangle. Use a strap or a wire or something to keep it up. What we did here to save a step is we took the caliper and the bracket off all in one step. Now you have to take your rotor off. Sometimes they slide right off and sometimes they're just kind of stuck on there. Tap them lightly with a hammer and there's the bearing assembly. In order to get to the bolts in the back, you may have to push that axle in. Okay, you got 3 bolts, they're size 15. You have to get them loose. In order to get to that top bolt on the bearing, you're going to have to take the lower control arm bolt off. It's a size 21. In order to get this lower control arm off, you're going to have to pry down on this lower control arm. Showing you the do-it-yourself way at home. We have other tools for this, but you can just take a piece of chain, put a bolt through that chain, pry bar or a crowbar. Okay, you've got to break this joint loose, so use a pickle fork. The joint will pop loose. Now you can use your pry bar and the chain and pry it down to get that lower control arm off. Now you can push your axle shaft in. We're doing this so we can get access to that nut up there. There. Got all 3 bolts out and your hub assembly will come off. There's the old and the new bearing assembly. National part hub assembly, there's your part number. They're the same left and right. Take your new hub assembly, line it up. You may take a little piece of sandpaper and clean that out if it sticks a little bit where it slides in there. Get your 3 bolts started. It's always best to start them by hand before you start putting wrenches on them. Line up your axle shaft. If that lower control arm is in the way, you can put your pry bar in there and hold it down. And you can get that axle shaft to stick all the way through the front. Be sure and put that washer back in there. and then your axle nut. Tighten that axle nut up as much as you can. That'll help pull that axle up where we can get that lower ball joint in easier. Now you have to pry down, lower control arm, slide that lower ball joint into the groove, put your nut back on the lower ball joint. Now at this point, if the rotors and brake pads are bad, this is the time to change them. But if they're good, you're ready just to put them back on. Again, since they both had to come off, we took the bracket and the caliper off all in one step. You can do it where you take just the caliper, but then you'll have to take the bracket off too. This way just saves you a step. Now you're ready for your wheel and your lug nuts. And then again, if you're doing this where you need to lower it down on the ground, put it down on the ground where the weight of the vehicle is going to hold that wheel still. And then you can use your breaker bar and tighten that axle nut as tight as you can get it.
And that is how it's done.